Madam Mayor. Welcome to the Herndon Town Council public hearing, September 10th, 2019.
Good evening, everyone. I'll go ahead and call the meeting to order and ask that you join us for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Council. Member Baker will not be with us this evening. We have two sets of minutes up for approval tonight. Is there a motion to approve the August 7th work session minutes? So moved. Discussion on the motion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. And those opposed? Is there a motion to approve the August 13th public hearing minutes? So moved. Second. Discussion on the motion.
Madam Mayor, I'll abstain. I was not available at that meeting.
Perfect. Any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And those opposed, and one abstention. Tonight we have several presentations, and I am pleased to see such a packed house, so we will get started right away. First of all, I will call on Councilmember Friedrichs to read our proclamation recognizing POW MIA Recognition Day. Ms. Friedrichs.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. A Town of Herndon proclamation recognizing POW MIA Recognition Day, September 20th, 2019. For many years, the American Legion supported the observance of a national POW MIA Recognition Day, which, with the Legion's support, was first recognized at the national level on July 18th, 1979. That first year, Congress passed a resolution, and the national ceremony was held at the National Cathedral in Washington, D.C. Every year following, POW MIA Recognition Day legislation was introduced until 1985, when the President began to issue a proclamation honoring this important day each year on the third Friday in September. POW MIA Recognition Day honors the commitment and sacrifices made by our nation's prisoners of war, those who are still missing in action, and their families. On this commemorative day, we pay tribute to the servicemen and women who have not returned home from past conflicts. We stand beside their families and loved ones and honor those who are held captive as prisoners of war. We remain focused on America's responsibility to achieve the fullest possible accounting of the missing members of our armed forces and to bring them home. Therefore, in recognition of these brave Americans, the Mayor and Town Council of the Town of Herndon, Virginia hereby proclaim Friday, September 20th, 2019 as POW MIA Recognition Day in the Town of Herndon, and offer full support to all members of the United States Armed Forces who defend American lives and liberties with unwavering devotion. Further, the Mayor and Town Council of the Town of Herndon, Virginia hereby proclaim that the Town of Herndon shall annually observe the third Friday of each September as POW MIA Recognition Day and encourage citizens to acknowledge this day of honor and remembrance through the display of POW MIA flags and with appropriate ceremonies and activities. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, ma'am. Are there comments from Council? Ms. Friedrichs.
Today we're commemorating people who were lost at war. And I don't think we can understand, well, some of us on council can, the aching, nagging anxiety that not knowing what's happened to your loved one causes. As of July 29th, 2019, the number of Americans missing and unaccounted for from the Vietnam War is 1,587. Of the over 82,000 missing from World War II to the present, the total missing and unaccounted for all wars is 7,647, including conflicts in the Iraqi theater, Libya, the Korean War, World War II, and Vietnam. The most repatriations happened not unexpectedly right after the president made this a regular national event. The second Reagan administration brought home 168 Americans. The first George H.W. Bush administration brought home 129 Americans, and the first Clinton administration brought home 327 Americans. But as the years go by, fewer and fewer are brought home because fewer and fewer are missing. However, we still have a lot missing. And as I said earlier, all of those missing represent empty places in the hearts of family members, friends, and colleagues. So I encourage anybody listening to take part in any local vigils, to fly the flag, and to stand by the families and friends of people who are missing and unaccounted for in these wars. And for further updates or to help with funding recovery efforts, please check with the National League of Families of POW MIA, whose motto is, "You are not forgotten." Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Other comments? Mr. McKenna.
Hey, this is an important thing, and I'm glad there's so many people here tonight because we can't forget those who are missing. My father lost two brothers in World War II, but I came to know someone who was a POW in the Korean War named Dick Graham, who was 5990 VFW chairman or commander in Denellen, New Jersey. And the thing we have to do is constantly keep vigilance in remembering the people who have sacrificed, because even if they come back, when people do come back, they have trauma. And we have to not only remember those who have not come back, but those who came back, to honor them and to make sure that they're taken care of. And I do want to thank the American Legion members who are here tonight for their sacrifice to this country. And I'm forever grateful. So. That's all, Madam Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. Other comments from council? Mr. DeCall.
I would like to remember all the prisoners of wars, as well as those are missing who never came back home. You are always in our thoughts and prayers, and we understand what the family goes through when a family member is missing. And also, I would like to say we thank you for your service. Thank you.
Thank you. Madam Vice Mayor.
Thank you. Is it on? Okay. I remember during the Vietnam War, I was pretty young, and they were selling the bracelets for the MIAs and prisoners of war, and they asked that if you took one of those bracelets, that you commit to never taking it off until that person came home. And I decided that was too big of a commitment, so I just donated money, because I thought that was very serious, that I shouldn't put that on and just take it off because I didn't like the fashion any longer. And then many years later, my husband disappears back in '94, and then 2 years after that, my sons were 2 and 10. There was an individual that had disappeared during World War II, and they finally brought him home 50 years later, 96, I believe, and his daughter was 2 years old. And I couldn't help but think of my son. Her quote in the Post was, "I never believed my dad was dead. I always thought he would come home." So my heart goes out. Thank you.
Thank you. With that, I would like to invite forward Jay Hadlock is here. He's one of a town citizen who is a veteran, and also Dave Womack is here with the American Legion. If either of you would like to come forward and say a few words, and then we'll invite you all down for the presentation. Or whoever would like to come speak. Come on down.
First thing is technical. I can figure out how to turn this booger on.
I know.
Is it on or off? Oh, I'm on.
It's on. We can hear you. Thank you.
Well, Madam Mayor, I'm the vice commander of Post 184. Dave Womack here is our post commander, is on travel for business, so he could not be here, so I'm covering for him. And I had done a little bit of research myself, but Ms. Friedrich, you did me out, so I go to notes. But Town of Herndon has always been supportive of both those active duty and those who are veterans and retirees, be they first responders or be they military related. And it's not just by proclamations, it's by physical assistance. For example, we could never do the ceremonies we do for Veterans Day or Memorial Day without the Town of Herndon's help in doing that, where we fly over 60 casket flags of people that have been interred up there at Chestnut Grove Cemetery. And it's a gorgeous sight when it's up and running, and it stirs the heart and brings it to mind what it's all about. And there's still, like she said, lots of people still out there that are missing in action somewhere along the line. Going back to World War II, there's over 43,000 they estimated were drowned, we never found at sea. So it's always a miracle when somebody does come back. The latest edition happened several years back with the town of Herndon physically assisting in remembrance of POW Mia Day, and that's flying the POW Mia flag. And there are 6 days throughout the year when that is basically authorized by Congress to be flown. And in several points throughout town, you'll find the POW Mia flag flown right beneath the American flag. So we thank you so much, Mayor, for the proclamation, and we thank the town of Herndon for all your continued support and continued good luck. Thank you so much.
Thank you. So the council, and I would like to invite down, of course, the entire council, the town manager and town attorney, members of the American Legion, Kidwell Post 184, who are here this evening, and anyone else who would like to come forward to honor this day.
Do like a double row, go a double row for us.
Absolutely.
Next up is a proclamation to recognize Virginia Bicyclist and Pedestrian Awareness Month. And I will recognize the chair of our PBAC committee, Councilmember De Aguila, to read the proclamation.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. A Town of Herndon proclamation recognizing Virginia Bicyclists and Pedestrian Awareness Month, September 2019. In 2017, 13 bicyclists and 114 pedestrians were killed in crashes with motor vehicles in Virginia. To combat these tragic statistics, hundreds of partners, including towns, cities, counties, businesses, organizations, schools, and sporting groups from across the state, are teaming up with Drive Smart Virginia, Bike Virginia, the Virginia Highway Safety Office at the Division of Motor Vehicles, and other like-minded organizations to raise awareness about the importance of sharing the road to reduce the number of crashes and injuries. During the month of September, the public awareness campaign known as Virginia Bicyclist and Pedestrian Awareness Month encourages bicyclists, pedestrians, and motorists to work together with this year's themes, See and Be Seen, to find solutions to reduce roadway injuries and fatalities while promoting safety, respect, and cooperation. The Mayor and Town Council of the Town of Herndon, Virginia, proclaim September 2019 as Virginia Bicyclist and Pedestrian Awareness Month in the Town of Herndon. Recognize that bicyclists, motorists, and pedestrians all have mutual rights and responsibilities when traveling on roadways of Virginia. Emphasize the importance of safety for all individuals traveling on the roadways. Promote bicycling and walking as healthy, efficient, and sustainable forms of transportation. The Mayor and Town Council of the Town of Herndon, Virginia, express support for the Herndon Police Department, Herndon Police Citizen Support Team, and the town's Pedestrian and Bicyclist Advisory Committee in the effort to make our roads, trails, and paths safer. Also remind pedestrian, bicyclists, and motorists to be safe, aware, and to share the road. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, sir. Comments from council? Mr. Delega.
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. As chair of the PBAC committee, I want to first thank the committee members. Without you advising the town, and certainly my fellow council members, we wouldn't be where we are in terms of making the town friendly to all forms of transportation. So I just want to thank everyone who contributed.
Thank you. Other comments from council? Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. As previous chair, I'm so glad to see so many people are still fighting the good fight for pedestrian bicycle safety in our town. Thank you. You got on that committee before I was ever elected, so some of you have really been on there for a long time. And if it weren't for you hanging in there, we wouldn't have a lot of what we already have today. It's just awesome, including all those awesome traffic lights that are audible so that the people in our community that want to get around, that are visually impaired, have a little signal so they know when it's time to cross the street. So thanks for all your work, and please keep it up. And I'm so glad to support you and our new chair. Thank you.
Thank you. Other comments from council? Anyone? No, I concur with my colleagues. It's been a long process. It started, as Sheila said, before many of us were elected. One of the first things we did way back in 2010 was get together with Fairfax County to start to implement some bicycle plans. And then just a couple of public hearings ago, we adopted our first bicycle plan townwide for the town, and we're working to make it. We want you out of your cars and on your feet and on your bikes, so we continue to work on that and look forward to hearing more suggestions, and we're working to get more funding and grant opportunities to make those things happen. So thank you all for being here. I would like to invite forward the entire council, once again, town manager and town attorney, all the members of our pedestrian and bicycle committee who are here this evening, any of our HPD officers that are here, Cindy Roeder, Michael Wallach, who are some of our staff support for that committee, and any other members of HPD, our citizens police support team, or other staff that would like to join us. And then we will hear from Sergeant Bobby Galpin to say a few words, I believe. So come on down.
Yeah. Good evening. My name's Bobby Galpin. I'm with the Herndon Police Department. Just want to thank you, Madam Mayor, Town Council, Town Manager, Town Attorney, members of PBAC, and other people in the community that are here tonight. We have a big crowd, obviously. During this month, the goal of the Herndon Police Department and the other agencies across Virginia is to promote bicycle and pedestrian safety awareness to reduce the number of unnecessary accidents. As we all know, the town has an abundance of bicyclists and pedestrians that use our streets and trails daily, with the many distractions going on today to include cell phone use This makes keeping people safe even more challenging. It's important for all of us, whether we are driving, walking, running, or biking, to lead by setting the proper example for others to follow us using our roadways and trails. I encourage everyone to speak with your friends and family, others you may come in contact with, about the safe usage of our roadways and being responsible while we're out there. With our increased efforts and the help of everyone here tonight, we hope to reduce the number of our unnecessary crashes and keep everyone safe. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Yep.
Next up, we have a proclamation to express appreciation to Green Lizard Cycling, and I will recognize Councilmember De La Aguila once again for the proclamation.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And by observing all the green in the house, I think this is the main event. A Town of Herndon proclamation recognizing Green Lizard Cycling. Dave and Beth Myers opened Green Lizard Cycling, a family-owned business that is now an integral part of the Herndon community, in downtown Herndon in March of 2013. Throughout the past 6 years, the mayors and Green Lizard Cycling have been actively involved in partnering with the town and local organizations toward the betterment of the community. Their advocacy for area cyclists has included working with such groups as Reston Bike Club, Washington Area Bicycle Association, Fairfax Alliance for Better Biking, Mid-Atlantic Off-Road Enthusiasts, and the Virginia Bicycling Federation. The mayors have hosted events including the Crooked Lizard Bicycling Scramble benefiting Friends of the Homeless Animals and Boulder Crest, the annual Fun Ride Bike-a-thon for the Herndon High School Band in conjunction with the Rotary Club of Herndon, a frequent community group rides and events for cyclists of all levels. The mayors have worked with the town to support and promote the annual Bike to Work Day, Coffee with a Cop, and other town events. In collaboration with the Department of Parks and Recreation, donated bikes, helmets, and provided technicians to repair bikes at the 2019 Play It Safe Bike Rodeo and Safety Fair. They've also worked to give back to the community through the Green Lizard Foundation, which was formed to encourage healthier living by assisting the youth of the community with the options for recreation, exercise, and nutrition. And they provide training and sponsor and donate resources to initiatives that support and grow a safe cycling and healthy living environment. Therefore, the Mayor and Town Council of the Town of Herndon, Virginia, hereby express its appreciation to Dave and Beth Myers of Green Lizard Cycling. Some of us get a little emotional there. I want to certainly thank you for their many contributions to the community and look forward to their continued growth and involvement. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, sir. Comments from council? Anything, Mr. De La Aguila?
Final and parting thoughts. I just want to say this town council, to a letter, supports all our businesses. We value them. And every now and then, a business, the owners, go beyond mere profits and margin. They look not to just extract, but to give back to the community. And I can tell you, I've seen it, I've experienced it. They've actually inspired others to do the same. Witness the result with the Green Lizard Foundation, to give and bring cycling to everyone, whether or not they can afford it or not, to have that opportunity. And I personally want to thank you. You're my friends.
Thank you. Other comments from council? Ms. Friedrichs.
I don't really want to follow Mr. De La Aguila because he was pretty verbose. But I do want to say, that wasn't what I meant, but I do want to say.
We know what you meant.
Effusive. But I do want to say that when the Green Lizard came to town, like one or two other businesses, actually a lot of businesses in the downtown, there's a moment when you look around and you go, oh, this is a great town. And Green Lizard is one of those. It's located in the historic Nachman building, which was woefully underused for a number of years. When they opened their doors and they had coffee, I thought, well, this is just it couldn't possibly get any better than that. Now they have beer, so apparently it could. But it is one of the iconic downtown businesses. As Councilmember Del Aguila said, they give back, and we've all known that. They also portray excellence in bicycling. They are always winning awards from magazines for their excellence. I know that they have Olympians working there, making sure that people have the opportunity to learn from the best. And so all I have really to say, you guys, is I'm so glad you're here. Thank you so much for what you do, and look forward to many more years of this.
Thank you. Mr. McKenna.
I just want to say I grew up in a small business. My mom and dad were 17 feet apart from each other for 17 years, 23 hours a day, and the only time they would have apart from each other was lunch, and then Sundays when they closed at 3, they'd go fishing together. And I can just tell you, on a personal note, last year, Beth and Dave made a very generous donation to the American Alzheimer's Foundation, which is something near and dear to me. And it was actually on the day of my parents' 50th wedding anniversary, both of whom are not here. So it was a tough day for me, but it was definitely made. It was made better because of it, and that's just a small example of the things that they do. So just know that personally, having a business when it's raining at 2 o'clock in the morning, your dad's waking you up to take the rain off the roof because it's a pain in the butt. But that's the life of a small business owner. So congratulations and much more success.
Yep. Thank you. Mr. DeCall.
Thank you. This is really a great proclamation in town of Herndon. Thank you, Council, for recognizing Green Lizard. Dev and Beth, you guys are great business owners in the town of Herndon, but it's not just about business. You have shown how you can take care of the community, how you can take care of the people. And in your service, like Councilmember De La Guela said, you guys have gone above and beyond in providing services. You guys fix the bikes of people for free for those who cannot afford to pay. And you've been involved in many, many different social activities and sponsored many different events which are driven by cause. So we are glad you guys are in Herndon. And then when I go to other places and we talk about biking and people from McLean or Great Falls, they, bike this way. They all know Green Lizard, where it is and everything. But I recently found few people do not know they get to drink beer inside. So probably you have to advertise because they were thinking you guys only have coffee, So maybe there is a little bit of marketing to be done. But thank you, honestly. Thank you so much for your service, and we are glad you are here. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. My first experience was, of course, having coffee because I'm one of the casual bike riders. I'm not one of the diehards, but I did get my bike there. And they welcomed me to come in there and hang out and drink coffee with the gang, even though I don't drink beer. And I did ended up working with the Green Lizard and their staff and owners for a bike-a-thon with Rotary, and it was very successful, of course. Rotarian Arthur Nachman, the owner of their building, had laid out the first one that we had the whole pamphlet to go by, and then the Green Lizard staff were wonderful to help me through that, and we made a lot of money for food sustainability for our youth in the Herndon schools. So they're not just helping bicyclists get on bikes, they're helping hungry kids that need a meal. Thank you for all you do for the town. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, when you go last, there's not a whole lot left to say, but I do have a story to tell. I will never forget how excited I was when I learned that this bicycle shop was coming into downtown Herndon. Arthur Nachman called me, and he's grinning because he knows the story I'm going to tell. He called me. I'm driving in my car, and on Bluetooth, officers. I didn't have it up to my ear. He starts telling me about this guy, Dave Meyer, who's coming up from North Carolina, and he's going to build this bicycle shop, and it's going to have a latte bar. That's what Mr. Nackman calls it. And he told me all about it, and Dave had a meeting set up shortly after to come over to my office, and he had all the plans, and we looked at all of it. And Arthur, all of you in the room, I'm sure, know Arthur. He ended the call by saying, well, Madam Mayor, you've got your damn coffee shop downtown. So thank you, Arthur. I do want to thank you all for bringing some vibrancy to that block downtown. It is, it was, as I think it was Signe said, it was an underutilized piece of property for quite a while, and it is clear that in a very short amount of time you have put your mark on the town, and there's a huge community and all sorts of great things that go out. And I would just challenge you to ask Dave and Beth about the time suddenly there was a big metal lizard on the front of the mayor's house where a big giant M once stood, and it traveled all over, and there were pictures, and everybody kept coming up to Beth and to me going, what's up with this lizard and this M? And we were just like, I don't know. Ask Arthur. So anyway, I do want to thank you all for being here. It is great to see so many of you. There are some of you I haven't seen in quite a while, and it's a pleasure to have you in our presence. So with that, I'm going to ask Dave and Beth Meyer to come forward if you'd like to say a few words, or if there's anyone else on your staff that...
Well, I want the staff to come up, and probably the board from the foundation. Arthur, would you like to join us? Sure. All right.
Well, sure. Come up. We'd like to hear from you. Do you want to do the photo first and then speak?
No, we can talk.
Okay.
So,
it's a well-oiled
I'm Dave
machine.
Meyer, 718 Lynn Street, and I want to thank everybody for the support we've had. It's been a great experience. We expect to continue to do this for quite some time. But I'll tell you, besides the support we've had from the town, it's the community. And without these folks, you wouldn't have this. So, all said and done, I thank you very much for everything. And let's come down and get a picture. I've got the staff down here. I would love to have Arthur here and the board members here. All right? Thank you very much, Madam Mayor.
That works for us. Come on down.
And I don't know if everybody saw this break protocol real quick, but we had a Herndon jersey made. That's awesome. We have our building, Nackman building on there, Green Lizard. We have Jimmy's on there.
Here.
These are the buildings we had in the area. Here, let's get a picture here.
Yeah. Look up, Dave. Don't smile. Okay.
All right. In the back, we've got the train station. We have the train. Commander Herndon, holding a beer, by the way. We thought it would be fun just to have it for the town of Herndon. So.
I lost the proclamation.
Can we kind of double up a little so we can get everybody's, and everybody look over to the right, or, excuse me, this one.
I'm not putting on the spandex in front of this.
Oh, that's great. Very nice.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. More than 7 years ago, I had the opportunity to meet Dave Meyer for the first time. He came up into my office and he sat down at my desk and he said, "What do you think about a bike shop here on Lynn Street?" And I said, "Sit right there." I had been marketing for a bike shop for the past 4 years, and everybody said, "It'll never work. It's downtown Herndon. There's not enough traffic. This is not the place you want to be. You want to be in a strip center somewhere." This man went, sat on a park bench right at the bike trail with a pad of paper, a pen, and a watch. And at the end of an hour, he totaled how many people came by on a bicycle. And it was 180 people.
Yeah.
And he said, "Where can I find a location that's going to give me that amount of traffic?" He figured it out. Everybody thinks that it was a natural. It wasn't. I must have talked to a dozen different people. So then he comes in and he says, "I want to have bikes, I want to have service, I want to have apparel, and I want a coffee bar." And I said, "What?" I mean, why do you want a coffee bar? And he says, "Because one, I can pay my rent with a coffee." So my brother was all excited about that. And the second was, it's a social gathering place. Now, many of you don't remember this, but Herndon used to have a Main Street project, and we had an economic development director, and he stood right at this lectern and he said, "Downtown Herndon is an economic desert." Not anymore. It's now an oasis, and these are the people to thank. Thank you.
Hi, Ian McDonald. I am also one of the founding members of the PBAC, and I just wanted to say thank you for the town of Herndon for recognizing the green lizard, and thank you for everyone who is here. I see a lot of faces that I know. One of the things that has become an amazing thing about the green lizard, has been echoed already, is this is a community. It's like you see us here, you see us, we have our bikes, beer, and burgers shirts, which one of our, they've now moved out of the area, but they put this together for us so that we could represent and we could be part of the community. You'll see a number of people here with our Green Lizard bicycle shirts. On the weekends, you'll see us representing Green Lizard and Herndon all around the area. Civil War Century, there were people there last weekend. We had people there. We had people in Pennsylvania riding a bike ride there. There was a large group of us representing on the Reston Century. And as we were going past and as we were biking, we were getting high fives and we're getting, "Hey, Herndon!" as we were biking. So the name Green Lizard and Herndon is really well known. And as echoed already tonight, it's like Beth and Dave really have created a centerpiece for the town. It's like we can walk in to the Green Lizard, there's friendly staff, they know us by name. More often than not, I may run into someone that I actually know there and sit down, have a smoothie, have a beer, have a coffee, and it has really become a social circle. I was talking to Beth a while back, and I said, "What is so special about the Green Lizard?" And she said, "I want everyone to feel welcome, regardless of your race, your weight, your athleticness. It's like we're here to help you find the right bike, and we will be supportive." And I think that really embodies a lot of what the Green Lizard is about, is really a very welcoming place. I remember my wife said many years ago, "Hey, there's this Wednesday night ride that goes on. Maybe you should start doing that." And this has become something of a trend for a number of people in this room. We used to go out, it used to be a smaller group. There would be like one group that would go out, and I would be at the back, Dave would come up and he'd go, Ian, how you doing? And I'm like, I'm doing good. I'll keep up. And over the years, and just with all the biking and all the other things and all the activity, I'm now slightly faster. But thank you, Dave and Beth, and thank you everyone else in the audience for turning up and supporting our community.
Looks like I get to back cleanup. So I don't have very many words because this is a poem. But sometimes that's the best way to say something, right? When you use the fewest possible words. And I don't have an elegant brogue either, but you did it. Thank you for that. Just as an aside, before I read this, I want to say that what Beth and Dave have created is community. It's your community. And for me, the core of definition of a community is where you encounter culture. And this is a cycling culture. This is what you see here is a cycling culture. And it is full of health. It's full of happiness. If anyone can make an argument against that, please present it. So I'm a regular. It didn't start out that way for Ian either, but now I'm a regular, and I'm a Green Lizard regular. So this is written on the morning of July 4th this year. It got me out of bed to write this about the Green Lizard and our community. We are the regulars, proud to be seen in our lively lizard skins of green. We are thankful for the community we share, for the green lizard colors we smartly wear, for the freedoms we crave, paid for with the lives of our brave. We give thanks for what each of you do, helping lizards learn to ride true. This is the beauty of our amazing sport, to feel a hand on your back when you're falling short. You know who you are, who have helped a friend in need. That's the Green Lizard way in this community. Before Green Lizard cycling arrived, this was seldom seen. Now the streets are filled with skins of green. Thank you.
Thank you, Council. I'm Dan Fisher. I'm actually the president of the Green Lizard Association, and I don't have a lot left to say.
You want to follow that?
I wrote a pretty, extensive speech about the community and the building. We've heard it. So what I will just like to now say is, the foundation was really founded to expand what they're doing. And, cycling and just fitness in general is something that we really want to promote. It really builds community, and that's what we want to do. We really look forward to partnering with you all, schools, other organizations, to make sure anyone, any economic circumstance, is able to participate in any of these events that they want. Whether it's running, I'm personally a marathoner. I don't even bike yet. I still
Let you be in charge of the foundation?
Exactly.
I didn't vet that very well.
I guess when I keep saying when my knees finally give out, I'll start biking. But for now, I'm just really proud to be part of this community, and I really look forward to working with you all and spreading everything that they've built. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Is there anyone else that wanted to come forward? No? Oh, come on down. See, I knew there was someone. Of course, you're standing between them and the party back at the shop.
Hi, I'm Christine Wooten. For those of you that don't know me, I am on my 20th year of teaching here in Herndon, so the young people are obviously very near and dear to my heart. And one of the things that I really love about Beth and Dave and Green Lizard is, not just fitness and classes, and I kind of call it my cheers. From a small town, you go in there and everybody knows your name. But also for our youth, you guys give you can usually hear me. Give back. I have 2 kids in middle school and elementary school, and I know that Beth and Dave and the people at Green Lizard are always looking out, and I think that is a huge, we're in a, large area, but this is a small town feel, and people like Beth and Dave, who everybody has said go above and beyond, and just as a teacher and a mom, often I've talked with Beth and she says, Christine, do you know this kid? He rides this bike. And I say, yeah, let me hit the mom up on Facebook and let him know what's going on. But I think that's the beauty of Green Lizard, centering our town and, just always giving back and looking out for our little people. So thank you, and thank you guys.
Well, thank you all for being here. It's a pleasure to see you, and have fun back at the shop. There's somebody else? Wait, what? Oh, hey, I didn't see you. Sure. You got to be quick.
So I'll have a more official announcement back at the shop in support of the foundation. But, a lot has been said about community tonight. But one word that I haven't really heard, which is really kind of a core tenet of community, are friendships. And I think one of the things in terms of building a community in Herndon are the friendships that have formed. Certainly, I've formed many friendships with people in this room through the rides and the events that have been organized by Dave and Beth. If you know Dave and Beth and you're friends with them, sometimes those friendships are tough. So there's some tough love there sometimes, but that's part of it too. So I just wanted to recognize the friendships that I've made and that others have made in this room through their association with Green Lizard.
All right, I know it's not a word you guys like to hear, but last call. Okay. Thank you so much for coming this evening. It was great to see you all.
Thank you.
Thank you. Finally this evening, last but certainly not least, we have a proclamation to recognize the 130th anniversary of the Herndon Fortnightly Club, and I will recognize Vice Mayor Olam to read the proclamation.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And it is my pleasure to read a Town of Herndon proclamation recognizing the 130th anniversary of the Herndon Fortnightly Club. In 1889, a group of 11 women from Herndon formed a study group called Fortnightly Club of Herndon, later to be named Herndon Fortnightly Club, the oldest women's club in Virginia General Federation of Women's Clubs. Its purpose, the oldest, not the only, excuse me. Its purpose was to enhance the members' knowledge of literature, art, science, and the issues of the day, and was so named because they met every 2 weeks. The club has participated in many philanthropic, patriotic, and community events over the decades. They started a collection of 40 books that grew to over 1,000 books by 1900. So from 1889 to 1900, they went up to 1,000 books, at which point the club became the country's first lending library out of a rented room in Herndon's downtown. In 1927, Fortnightly Club volunteers opened a brick library at 660 Spring Street. By 1953, the library contained over 8,000 books, and a few years later, it was designated as a deposit station of the Fairfax County system. In 1972, the Herndon Fortnightly Club moved into a new building on Spring Street and operated the Fortnightly Library until the Fairfax County Library System assumed the management and funding responsibilities of the library. The club has maintained an active role in the library and the community, including their comprehensive scholarship program, which has provided over $200,000 in scholarships to date for area students. A new Herndon Fortnightly Library was opened by the county in 1995, so named to honor the significant and historic role the Herndon Fortnightly Club has played supporting and protecting Herndon heritage. Therefore, in recognition of the 130th anniversary of the Herndon Fortnightly Club, the mayor and the town council of the town of Herndon hereby congratulate and celebrate this important organization and encourage residents to learn more about the club, its history, and its work in the town. Further, the mayor and town council of the town of Herndon hereby express gratitude and appreciation to the many volunteers of the Herndon Fortnightly Club who have dedicated countless number of hours, greatly contributed to our community, and improved the quality of life in Herndon area for the past 130 years. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Comments from council? Vice Mayor.
Yes, thank you. The first time I visited the Herndon Fortnightly Club, it was either 2003 or 4 when my good friend and member of the club, Judy Downer, had a special speaker. And that speaker was Farmer and Betty Meadows, and they were there to speak about their life story, Nearly Perfect, an American success story. That was really a lot of fun, and it was a packed group. And I thought, wow, this is a cool group. You know, and you had a book reading there, and the farmer brought everyone a book and autographed them for us. I still have my copy. That was fun. And then I learned about the scholarships that they had. So in 2010, my son, Matthew, was one of the recipients, and he was very good. He wrote 2 or 3 letters to the ladies during his freshman year, letting them know about his progress. In fact, he even made the dean's list his first semester. I was so proud. And he made sure that the ladies knew about it. And he's written you a couple of other letters, and I've got to get him to send one more. He's working at a university now, and he has an MBA. So your investment was very much appreciated, and he puts it on his resume. Thank you.
Thank you. Other comments? Mr. McKenna.
Yeah, first of all, I want to thank you for coming tonight. And I'm a big fan of understanding context, and the reason why I say that is you have the 130th anniversary of the Herndon Fortnightly Club. And next August will be the 100th anniversary where you had the women had the constitutional right to vote. So for 30 years, you were teaching people how to read. And my father always used to tell me the most dangerous man is a man with a library card. And at 9 years old, I'm like, Dad, what the heck are you talking about? But as I got older, I started to understand what that meant. And the mission that you have and the things that you do are very important. And my mother would constantly put that into me, and I just want to let you know how much it means to me, the work that you do, and the bravery that your organization stands for. Because 100 years ago, women were second-class citizens, and that's not my family, that's for sure. But I just want to thank you and keep doing the work that you're doing because it really matters. Thanks.
Other comments? Ms. Friedrichs.
I think I'm the only person on the dais who's actually a member of the club.
Why didn't we let you read it?
Well, I was busy with POW stuff. Sorry. I wanted to read it. I was very bitterly jealous. But
I'm sure we can work through it.
But thank you all for coming out tonight. We have here the president, Mary Berger, Virginia Clarity, and Vicki Robertson, and other members, I'm sure. Thank you for being here. This club does little things and big things, and I think it's the little things that matter the most. I remember one project I did was working with other people, obviously, putting together little goodie bags for the Herndon Police. That was a very cool thing, and everybody could get behind it, and no matter how much or how little money you had, you could participate. And we knew we were doing something that would cheer somebody up. Establishing a new library in a town is a pretty spectacular thing to do, and that will go down in history. But also, it's the little things, and I want to thank you all for being the people who notice those things and who do them.
Thank you. Who else? Anybody else to speak? Well, sure.
Very short remark. Thank you for doing what you've been doing, and please keep doing what you're doing, because enriching the community with the knowledge of art, science, literature, and all these little things like Council Member Frederick said really matters the most for the community. And thank you for your work for the community. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I love this story. If you haven't read the whole story of the Fortnightly Club, you really should go Google it. It comes up on the Fairfax County Public Library page and in some of the history books that we have about Herndon. It is remarkable what these women accomplished so long before they had the right to vote. So the women in Herndon have been moving and shaking for quite a while. Fairfax County, the library in Herndon, the Fortnightly Library, is the only branch of a library in the entire county that has a name other than just the placeholder. Everything else is, the Western Regional Library or POHIC, and this one is the Herndon Fortnightly Library, and I know that was quite a fight that was put up to recognize the club, because what you did was really remarkable. And if you can manage to get yourself invited to their holiday luncheon in December, it is so much fun. So I'm hoping somebody invites me this year, because it is it's really such a great thing that I get to go to many, many years. So Mary and everybody that are here, we're so glad you're here. We're going to invite you forward with everyone for a photo, and then we'd love to hear from you. If you'd like to say a few words, come on down.
We don't overrun the council. We just have three. We're at 2 other meetings and this. You've got the cream of the crop. Hey, I saw you on the list. I'm short. Thank you. Thank you, Mayor Lisa. Thank you, council members, and thank you, staff. I'm Mary Berger. I'm the president of the Herndon Fortnightly Club, and we will be celebrating our 130th year on September the 21st, and we have sent out many, many invitations. We are very proud of our 11 ladies that started our club 130 years ago. I can't imagine, but somewhere like on the 20th or 30th year, let's see, I'm 81. Yeah, I knew some of these ladies, and they were old ladies. They were probably 40 years old, but to me as a little kid growing up, they were really old ladies, but boy, they were smart and strict ladies. And they have done so much in the past. We have 4 living past presidents, and I'll make the 5th come January, hopefully. Hopefully. I was born in Herndon, so I have that old town feeling, where our first policeman in Herndon jumped on the next car because he didn't drive, and he jumped on the car and said, follow that car, and that's how he made arrests. So that's how small Herndon was way back, when you kids have everything, and we had nothing but hard work and lots of dedicated citizens in this town that have kept it going. And the ladies have kept this club going, and we're small in number. We've always been small in number. We're only like 30, 35 members max at a time, but we are powerful little old ladies. And one of our proudest things is, to date, we have raised and given over $200,000 in scholarships, and we're very proud of that. We really are. We also have found Birmingham Green, the retirement home for the indigent in Manassas, and we have started their library in their nursing home, and we give about 150 books to them each year to keep their library now going. So we're really proud of that. We also serve as members as a club on docents for the Herndon Holiday Homes Tour. We give cookies to the little kids at the library first Saturday in December. We do lots of little projects. We collected 109 pair of women's shoes for Souls for Souls this past June. You mention it, we'll do it. We love supporting our community, but we love supporting children, and we also have a group of us that collects books, and we give to the children who really need it here in Herndon. So we do a lot for kids, and we do a lot for the community, we hope, and we're proud of this, and we're very proud to receive this from you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary. All right, that brings us to comments. Mr. Town Manager, do you have any comments for us?
Yes, I do, Madam Mayor. At last night's Virginia Recreation and Park Society Awards Banquet, our own Director of Parks and Recreation, Cindy Roeder, received a Lifetime Achievement Award, and I just wanted to point that out to you all. I also wanted to take a few moments to bring you up to date on a few downtown items. Just the laundry list of things that need to get done to get to closing. We're working through that list. Transitional parking plan is primarily complete. There's some operational details that need to be worked out, but right now the main leases are in place, and we're in a good place there. The transitional art space location is under a letter of intent. No lease yet, but a letter of intent that we've identified a place. I believe tomorrow we are reconvening the Arts Advisory Committee, which is a town manager appointed committee made up of members of the arts community here in town, staff, Comstock people. They will be discussing the art on the Arts Walk and trying to Comstock expressed a desire to me a few weeks ago to identify exactly the art we're going to put in that place so they can budget it, I'm sure. So that will reconvene tomorrow to begin that process. Comstock's deep into their internal processes, their construction bids, going through the fire marshal reviews, that sort of thing is happening. We have been back and forth with Comstock on an environmental remediation agreement. That negotiation's ongoing. It's favorable. Things are moving in the right direction there. No major surprises. We just have some questions that Comstock is answering for us. That's obviously a very critical piece to the once we go under construction to remediate the sites that have been identified as potential environmental issues. We've started preliminary discussions on the tri-party agreement. Just to bring you up to date on that, that is an agreement between the town, Comstock, and their lender to protect the town once we convey the property to them. That is a major milestone to get us to closing, and like I said, we're just starting to talk internally, both sides, and we're preparing to meet and formally begin that process. Once the fire marshal is done with their magic, I'm sure Comstock will be ready to submit for the building permits. That's another very major milestone that we have to meet. We have to have all building permits issued under the comprehensive agreement to be able to close, and that still is in front of us a little bit. And that's where we are with the downtown, other than to say the energy on both sides of the table has picked up significantly once summer has passed. Seemed to be a lull while folks were on summer vacation on both sides of the table, but it is now, we're back, helmets on, going at it. So just wanted to give you that update.
Thank you very much. Comments from council? Mr. McKenna, I'll start with you.
Nothing to report this week, ma'am.
Way to go. Ms. Friedrichs had asked to go last, so Mr. DeCall or Delagula, anyway?
I just want to thank Bishop Michael Hunsacker and the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints for the very lovely ice cream social invitation I received last week. Met many wonderful people, so God bless you all. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Ms. Friedrichs.
let's see. I want to mention that at Next Up Theater, Beehive is showing until September 22nd, and if you haven't gone yet, you should go. It is so fun. A lot of 60s girl band music. Art Space starts a pastel drawing class tomorrow with a renowned local artist, Carol Berman. On September 14th, there will be a hackathon at Capital One in Tyson's Corner that is geared toward young women. It is the group that's running this is called, I forget their name. Oh, Girls Computing League. And it's a Herndon, not town of Herndon, but a Herndon area young man, I believe, who is running that nonprofit. I also want to congratulate Cindy Roeder on receiving this award. She posted a picture on Facebook, which was pretty wonderful. Madam Mayor, a question. I understand there's been a query on consent agenda item, I hope I'm saying this right, resolution number 1914, to award a contract for bulk curbside trash collection service. And I would just, I wonder if I could have clarification from the staff about whether that is for regular pickup or, as I had imagined, for the fall and spring trash cleanup.
Thank you. Yes, we did get one email from a citizen who was concerned about that. Can I ask the town manager to clarify that for us?
Sure, absolutely. Back in the spring during the budget discussions, we discussed about moving the spring and fall cleanups off of town staff to an outsourced arrangement with a contractor. This was due in part because the morale issues it creates, the workman's comp issues that are created by the spring and fall cleanups, that we have to put a moratorium on leave, like folks can't take leave during that period. It is not a very popular time at the shop. Actually, the citizens love it. The shop is grumbling very badly. And not that that is a bad thing, but I think the workers' comp is what really triggered us to take a really solid look at this. And so we came in the spring and asked you all to, as part of the budget, to move that to an outsourced arrangement. That is what this is. So that is for the two cleanups, spring and fall cleanup. And the key words there are bulk. And I would draw your attention to the number associated with it, which is like $40,000, $50,000 or something is how much is the contract's worth. Our daily pickups are worth a whole heck of a lot more than that, I can assure you. So this is just for those two elements. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anything? Okay. Thank you for clarifying that. We appreciate it. Madam Vice Mayor.
Yes. Got a few things, and while I'm pulling this back up, I just want to say, okay, the Rotary Car Show, if you didn't get out there this year, it was absolutely wonderful. I was posting on Facebook trying to remind people, because every year they just have such a nice crowd, and people got so excited because there's no charge. You just get to go down there and hang out with all the car guys. And if you're not even a car person, it's kind of fun to talk to them because they're really proud of their automobiles. And they all come from outside the area, and then they go spend their dollars in our restaurants because they all want to eat. And so it's a good time for everybody, and they really talk positively about the community and the town. Also, because we were talking about fortnightly, we had an awesome speaker at the Herndon Rotary last week. It was an individual representing the library telling us about the different service they have for people that can't get out of their house to go get books. They want everyone to have books, and so they have services for people that can't physically go to the library. And even more important, they have these reader machines that if you are visually impaired or have some type of condition where you probably couldn't hold a book, if you had a condition, say like Parkinson's, and you needed that book to be read to you, they have these books. There is no charge, and they get mailed to your house. So whether or not you can go to the library isn't an issue, and they give you an extended period to read it, and they don't fine any of the people on this project. So it's a great project if you know people in Fairfax County that love reading, but for some reason they can't read anymore. let's get them in touch. And I've got the number, I can get it to you. The other thing, the Next Stop Beehive performance is great for everybody, and because it's a musical, you don't even need to be visual to see this play. The music is absolutely awesome, and I wouldn't say that about all plays that they perform, but this one, you're going to know the music, you're going to love it, even if you can't see. So even if you've got a visual impairment, go listen to Next Stop. It's a wonderful performance, and I think you'll enjoy the music. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Another great thing about Next Stop is that it's such the venue, you're close no matter, even if you're in the back row, so it's great for everybody. I'm hoping I get to go see that one. In the interest of time, I'm going to forego my comments and move right into comments from the audience. And this is the portion of the agenda where anyone can come forward speaking on any item that's not listed as a public hearing item. That does include our consent agenda items and our general items this evening. You have up to 3 minutes. State your name and address for the record. And when the red light comes on, please try to wrap up. Is there anyone that would like to come forward? Yes, sir.
Mayor, Lisa, members of the Town Council. My name is Jay Hadlock. I reside at 515 Alabama Drive here in Herndon. I'm just sorry I couldn't figure out a way to come up here while the Green Lizard people were here. I'm a member of the board of the Friends of Runnymede Park, and I would like to remind everybody that Saturday, September 21st, we are hosting our fall native plant sale from 9 to 2 in the park. We'll have 2 excellent nurseries again, and fall is a great time for planting. Also, our annual Nature Fest is Sunday, September 29th, from 1 to 5 in the park. We are celebrating 20 years. This is a family-friendly event and has lots of activities for everybody. And also, and just coincidentally, I would like to thank the town staff in relation to consent agenda item 19G56, bulk curbside trash collection. They did good due diligence and found out that the low bidder did not meet the high standards of the town of Herndon and awarded the contract to the other bidder. So thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Is there anyone else who would like to come forward and speak on any item that's not a public hearing this evening? Okay. Thank you very much. So we do have several public hearings on the agenda this evening. Staff is going to present some of the reports concurrently on all items, followed by separate public hearings and roll call votes. So heads up to the council. The first series of public hearings are Ordinance 19-026 to authorize the acquisition of a temporary easement on a property at 560 Herndon Parkway. Ordinance 19-027 to authorize the acquisition of a fee simple permanent and temporary easements on property at 593 Herndon Parkway. Ordinance 19-028 to authorize the acquisition of fee simple permanent and temporary easements for the property at, or a portion of the property at 570 Herndon Parkway. And finally, Ordinance 19-029 to authorize the acquisition of a fee simple permanent and temporary easement on property at 575 Herndon Parkway. I will open the public hearing right now and recognize Lisa Yates, our town attorney. And again, we'll have concurrent staff reports and separate public hearings on these items. Madam Town Attorney.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. These ordinances this evening involve the Herndon Metro access improvements at our Herndon Metro station on Herndon Parkway. That project has been a longstanding CIP item. The completed public use project will provide drop-off lanes for both directions to accommodate Fairfax connector buses and for drivers to pull off of Herndon Parkway, stop and drop off Dulles Metro Rail passengers safely. The public use project provides for signalized pedestrian bike crosswalk connections between the bus bays on the north side of Herndon Parkway and the bus bays on the south side of Herndon Parkway. The project also includes ADA accessible wide streetscape, medians, and bus shelter and transit facilities. Obviously, our metro station is, we can see it now. It's almost complete. It's getting exciting. There's no trains yet, but it is imminent. Unfortunately, our Metro Rail access is not constructed yet. This evening, we have John Irish, Deputy Director of Public Works, with us to provide a staff report regarding the status of that project and where we are, what's needed. And also with us tonight, we have our outside counsel, Courtney Herndon from Brillia Hunley. She is an expert in the field of eminent domain and condemnation acquisitions, and she's also received a certification from the Attorney General of the Commonwealth of Virginia, recognizing that expertise and allowing her to participate in certain transactions that only individuals with those credentials are allowed to participate in. So I believe Mr. Irish is going to start us off and remind us what this project is, and then Ms. Herndon is here to answer any questions and provide information regarding the ordinances themselves. Thank you.
Madam Mayor, Town Council members, I would just like to, as Ms. Yates mentioned, to go back and give a little bit of descriptive and graphic presentation for the benefit of the viewing audience and anyone that is not familiar with some of the details. This slide represents just a graphic depiction of exactly what she described. We have the Herndon Parkway running pretty much across there and north, of course, to the top. So we have a bus drop-off area on the north side and a passenger vehicle drop-off on the north side. And then also on the south side, the same. Let me find my pointer here. The spine right here in the center is the promenade. This is what leads to the actual pavilion. The pavilion would be towards the bottom of this screen. So the drop-offs kind of are on either side, straddle that. The properties that we're going to be discussing essentially are exactly as you see those 4 different drop-off locations that are going to be involved. The pedestrian crosswalk and signalized intersection will be right at the end of the promenade, and that will be the main pathway for your passengers and so on to cross the street there, and that will provide them a refuge. This is just kind of a rendering showing exactly what, not exactly, showing generally what this will look like. Looking from Herndon Parkway west in the upper left corner, at the bus bays there on either side, and then at the bottom left as if you were heading east on Herndon Parkway with the vehicle, the passenger vehicle drop-offs on either side. Again, the bottom right shows essentially the same picture I showed before with the promenade in the middle, bus drop-off and vehicle drop-off on either side. When you move into more detailed looking at the picture of this, this starts to define exactly where the easements are necessary for these projects. And there are basically 3 different types of easements or right-of-ways that we're talking about being involved. One is called fee simple right-of-way, where we are actually going to need to compensate property owners for property that we need to take and become part of the bus facilities or auto facilities. We then have what are called permanent easements. These can be used for either traffic signals, utilities, and so on. That is actually property that remains with the property owners, but it gives the town the actual right to do maintenance and other things that are necessary for sidewalks, et cetera. And then lastly are what we call temporary construction easements. These are usually primarily the largest amount of property we're talking about. These actually are, as they say, temporary, meaning once these construction projects are complete and they've been totally finished from a punch list standpoint, these easements revert back to the property owners and no longer provide the town or anyone any additional property rights. They just basically, they disappear at the end of the project. This slide essentially is giving you a kind of more detailed itemization of those types of easements. The red is the right-of-way taking, You'll notice on all 4 of those locations, there is a certain portion of land that's necessary for us to acquire. The green is the what's called permanent easements, and essentially there is just 2 locations, the one on either side of Herndon Parkway for the traffic signal at the crosswalk. Utility easements are the yellow. In this case, they're only on the south side. That is just for the Dominion Electric relocation. All the other utilities that do occur in that area can be relocated and stay within the current right-of-way, so we don't need additional easements for that. And then the blue, which is the outline of the larger areas, is the temporary construction easements. So that describes essentially where the properties are and the types of easements that are required. As far as in the process, where we are right now is we have prior engaged our civil engineering consultant to provide us with the right-of-way consulting expertise. They prepared and offer packages for the 4 property owners. They were given to the property owners, and they have had ample time. That was probably back in, I want to say, April, May timeframe. We have heard back from all 4 of the property owners. We are still in negotiations with these property owners. We will continue to negotiate. There's nothing that we believe prevents us from coming to an amicable negotiated settlement. However, because of timing, this ordinance is asking us to be authorized to file what's called a certificate of take in the circuit court, which simply gives us a timing necessary advantage to be able to work and do utility relocations in these easements at the time that we file those certificates of take. At the same time, we are submitting to the court the dollar value of the appraisals that have been authorized by VDOT certified appraisers. That money goes into an escrow type account with the circuit court and is available to the property owners at that time. And we will continue to negotiate forward with those property owners. If the value of the property is more than the appraisers that we come to a negotiated settlement on, then we would owe them more beyond that. But at this point, the main reason for us to take this action, and it is very customary within other roadway projects that are administered by the state, VDOT, and other larger entities like the federal government, we are just in a position because we are the administrators of these construction projects that the town is in a position we have to take this action ourselves. So at this time, I think I've covered most of the bases. If you have any questions or comments.
Do we have any questions for staff before Courtney comes up? Any questions for Mr. Irish?
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. Just to recap, anything changed, figures, deltas, differences this week from last week? Was presented at the work session.
I will make one minor comment about that. In the staff reports, there was some typographical errors that we did need to clean up, but in essence, everything else is the same.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions for Mr. Irish? No. Okay, thank you. Good evening. Welcome back.
Thank you. Good evening. Just to go over a few of the things that Ms. Yates said, my name is Courtney Herndon, and I am, I guess, a subject matter expert in eminent domain. The certification she was referencing is that the way the Attorney General's office has chosen to handle eminent domain is that there are a few law firms within the state or within the Commonwealth of Virginia that go through a process every couple of years of submitting our bids to be able to have the opportunity and honor to work on behalf of the Commonwealth to do the VDOT projects. We're representing the condemnor. We are doing the takings. Many of us work for landowners on the other side so that we have experience with both. I do. However, I would say that 80% of my personal practice is representing condemnors, and I have had a special appointment from the AG's office for 13 years. One of the things I want to address is a vocabulary issue. There are two words that we keep throwing around as we talk about things. One is eminent domain, and one is condemnation. And there was a question in our work session about what's the difference and what does it mean. Eminent domain is the power that a municipality has to take land in order to build a public project or for a public purpose. Condemnation is the procedure they go through in order to accomplish that task. Condemnation of land for a public purpose is a normal and necessary part of certainly transportation projects and many, many other things, or else no one would pay to build roads. We have talked about in our work sessions that this is a project that has been on the books, as it were, for many, many years. It is absolutely going to be a great thing for the community. It's going to bring people from the metro to the community buildings. But one of the concerns the council has expressed is what is in place to protect the landowner's rights. And the answer to that question is that the Virginia Constitution, for one, as well as the many, many statutes that are on the books in order to provide procedures, protocols, stopgap solutions that create a lot of ways, a lot of hurdles, in fact, for a condemning authority that they have to jump through in order to meet all of the requirements. With regards to this particular project, just to name a few, as you mentioned, there was a certified appraiser, actually not just one, but two. There was a review appraisal as well. And they also have their certifications from VDOT, and they performed bona fide appraisals on these properties. Those bona fide appraisals with valuations were presented to the landowners, and they came back with their counteroffers. The counteroffers were high. At that point, we determined that the negotiations are at an impasse because they are so significant that we need to have time to work on those numbers. We also need to move forward with the project. In light of that, we can file the certificates of take, which are part of the condemnation process, and do both contemporaneously, negotiate as well as start to move utilities and work on the project. The requirements that protect the landowner's interest are not just with regards to what the initial valuation is. At the date that the certificate of take is filed, the town has to have that money ready. They have to deposit that into the court, and the landowner can draw it down the next day. What this boils down to, the town is buying that property, and in order to buy it, they have to provide just compensation for it. In the case of temporary easements and the permanent easements, we're renting it for a certain amount of time. They have to have compensation for that. And in order for it to be a deal, it has to happen at the time that we take defeasible title to it. If the negotiations are, if they do not work out, and more than 90% of these cases settle, vast majority of the time they do not go to court. A jury is gathered at a trial of landowners in this locality in order to determine what the fair market value is. Again, rare occasions that this occurs, but that is a way to protect the landowner's interest. Again, I want to reiterate, this is a normal part of the process to build infrastructure. The reason why it might not be a normal process for this council is that several years ago, the Northern Virginia Transportation Authority was actually funded, And VDOT realized that money to build roads was coming from not just VDOT, it was coming from a lot of different sources. At that point in time, they made a policy decision that there would be some projects that they're going to build, their money, they're going to build them. However, on other projects, they're going to allow the localities to provide all of the excess other than just the construction. And in those cases, they labeled them locally administered projects. This is a locally administered project. And they are becoming more and more common as there's money that's dragged from different places. Again, this is, I represent localities all over the Commonwealth. This is a very normal action that we're taking, that you're taking tonight. And I think that was all the topics, but I'm sure you're going to have questions.
Thank you. Are there questions from the council? Madam Vice Mayor.
So this is just a hypothetical question.
Of course.
Let's say that property was all in Fairfax County and we were on the other side of the road. Would we be here today? I mean, I know the council wouldn't be here, but would this process go to Fairfax County the same way? And Fairfax would have to do the same thing we are doing now?
I think, are you asking whether or not Fairfax has locally administered projects? So the answer is yes. And they actually have 2 Fairfax County attorneys that are dedicated to eminent domain. There are, as does Loudoun County, where it's, it's such a big deal that is the full-time job of people. But for towns and for cities, they use me.
Exactly. Thank you.
No problem. Thank you. Other questions? Ms. Friedrichs.
I just want to thank you. That was a very clear explanation, and I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you for this information and also from last week as well. Given some time to absorb it and putting it into context, it makes a lot more sense this week. So thank you.
Other questions from anyone? I'm going to ask a question just because I think that this is pretty important to drive home, but I can imagine people hearing this and going, wait a minute, we've been talking about Metro for 10 years and working on this. Like, why did we wait till now? Why are we all of a sudden having to do a quick take eminent domain because nobody likes that? Like, what happened to make us get here? Why didn't we do it a long time ago?
So there's a couple of reasons for that. Projects go in phases, and they get funded in phases, and no locality can work on all the projects at one time. In this case, it's interesting. The Metro is one project, and this is a different one. So that's a WMATA project for now. This is a transportation project. So again, it's different sets of money, it's different timetables, it's different everything, essentially. So with regards to why it's happening now, it is happening now because, it's almost built. The Metro is almost built, and there's a priority now on making sure that the people can get from the Metro to your fabulous businesses.
And I don't know whether Mr. Irish might have something to add in terms of VDOT specific or Dominion specific on this.
Thank you.
Basically, it's pretty much similar to what Ms. Herndon said, but a lot of times, in this case also, when the project first came to council back in, I believe, 2012 or 13, we start a project without full funding. So as we go forward and develop concepts and the council adopts concepts, we have different steps. Well, meanwhile, behind the scenes, we are also trying to find more and more streams of revenue through grants. Well, sometimes these grants have certain time frame stipulations. So money that we get today, we may not be authorized to use until 2025, right today. So back then, we may not have had money available to spend, even though we had it, until time future. So that's another piece that prevents us from just going gangbusters and having had these built like 5 years ago when everybody thought Metro was going to start. But that element of timing definitely comes into play, not to mention, as Ms. Yates was alluding to, we deal with VDOT's review process is quite arduous. The fact that we cannot move forward in a normal practice you would expect in private development where we can just continue moving forward. Every time we get to a benchmark, we have to get authorization to go to the next phase, which takes time for review on their part and their bureaucracy. And then we throw in all the utility people like Dominion and Columbia Gas. They have their own layers of the same process. So to make a long story short, nothing goes very fast for these transportation projects.
So bureaucracy is what I'm hearing. Sure, go ahead.
Just to provide some context, so even projects that are run solely by VDOT, it is a very common occurrence that there is a certificate of take filed, and it is 18 months to 2 years before they're able to get their own, do all of that stuff with the utility companies and start moving utilities and then start construction.
So it's like you read my mind. So my next question was going to be, if this were a VDOT project, this might very well, or would probably still be happening, but VDOT would be the one going through this process, not the town. And is the reason we are doing it is because this is a locally administered project, and that means that it's the town's project, not Metro's, not VDOT's.
That's correct.
So that's why we're so lucky this evening.
One other factor is
Yes.
that our streets, our roads are owned by the town, whereas where you have VDOT-owned streets, they have obviously a vested interest in administering their own roadwork projects. So we have a vested interest in administering our own projects as well.
Thank you for entertaining those, because I think that we all express some concern about, like, yikes, this isn't something that we like to do, and it's not something I recall doing since I've been on council, so we want to make sure we understand why we are here.
So one of the things that perhaps could have been done, better on the part of VDOT, when they sort of changed this policy, it was not as if they advertised that they were changing the policy. What they did do is they revised their standard form contract. There's a standard form contract between a municipality, locality, and VDOT with regards to, okay, here's the project, we're going to go forward. They put in subparagraph K, not telling anybody that it was in there and not explaining, I think, to the municipalities what that meant. Subparagraph K says, if you are a municipality that determines that staff council is not able to do or doesn't have, 20 arms, you can use one of the attorneys that has a special appointment. And if you plan well enough in advance, you can roll those costs into the project. The problem is they didn't tell anybody, and then the project cost got set. And so if you're signing a contract now for 7 years from now, roll the attorney's fees into that.
Get subparagraph K. Did you guys get that? Okay. Okay.
Yes.
Thank you for that. Are there other questions for our outside counsel? Okay. Thank you very much. We appreciate that. So this is a public hearing, so I will call for comments from the audience on ordinance, and again, we'll do these separately, for ordinance 19026 to authorize the acquisition of a temporary easement on property owned at 560 Herndon Parkway. So I'll close the public hearing and move to council. We're having, there's a typo in my notes. We'll call for comments from the audience. Is there anyone that would like to come forward? Right? Okay, I'm like, right? Okay, I caught that. Okay. Is there anyone that would like to come forward and speak on ordinance 19026? Okay. Seeing none, I will close the public hearing and move to council level for discussion and action. Is there a motion? Ms. Friedrichs. Sorry, I saw you first.
Madam Mayor, I move approval of 19-0-26.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion made by Ms. Friedrichs, seconded by the Vice Mayor. Discussion on the motion. Yes, ma'am.
Given that all of these public hearings are in the public interest, that the owners were prepared to sell before this, that negotiations will continue after to make sure that they're getting fair market value. given that we need to begin these projects as soon as humanly possible, and given that Virginia is a very difficult place to abuse eminent domain, I support this and think all of these should pass.
Okay. Yes, ma'am. Madam Vice Mayor.
Yes, I mean, I moved here in 1990, and there were public hearings, information meetings going on about this wonderful metro that was going to be here in 2000. So 29 years later, this isn't a 10-year project, 20-year. It's been 29 since I moved here thinking it was going to be here, and it died and it came back. So had we run out and put something out there back in the early 90s, we'd have to probably redo it now anyway. But I think it is going to be a great asset to the businesses there, and we're not really taking much at all. It's going to enhance their ability to rent those spaces once the metro does arrive. And it's also going to be a great public use project for all of our citizens, and we hope we're going to be getting a lot of people out of cars, maybe walking and biking in those areas, because that's part of what's going on over there, the cycle track and so forth. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Yes, sir.
Just real quick, again, big fan of context. In 1954, there was actually a Supreme Court decision. It was Berman versus Parker, and this is happening during a time in the country after World War II where there was an economic boom. And it was a landmark case in regards to the taking clause in the Fifth Amendment of the Constitution in regards to eminent domain. And the court held up the decision 8-0 to hold that private property could be taken for public purpose with just compensation. That's been upheld for decades. And in fact, Justice Douglas wrote, if an owner after owner were permitted to resist the redevelopment programs on the ground that his particular property was not used against the public interest, integrated plans for redevelopment would suffer greatly. I can think of no better case than this. Thank you.
Thank you. Other comments on this motion? No? I will just quickly say I just want to make it really clear that I support this for a lot of the reasons that were just mentioned. It is a public use. I don't think that we made it super clear in our discussion tonight, but some of these easements are actually temporary construction easements. So while some of the land will be taken and obviously will become part of the bus bay, some of it is just so that the construction can take place and then it will go back to the landowner. So I appreciate my colleagues' thorough discussion and our expert witness and our staff who has taught us a lot in the last few weeks about this. So is there further discussion? If not, I will ask the clerk to please call the roll.
Vice Mayor Olem?
Yes.
Councilmember Delacalar?
Yes.
Councilmember Doug Call?
Yes.
Councilmember Frederick?
Yes.
Councilmember McKenna?
Yes.
Mayor Merkel?
Yes, that motion passes unanimously. Next up is ordinance 19027 for 593 Herndon Parkway. It's a public hearing, and I will call for comments on the audience on this particular parcel. Is there anyone that would like to come forward? Okay. Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing, move to council level once again for discussion and action. Madam Vice Mayor.
Madam Mayor, I move approval of 19-0-27.
Second.
Okay, discussion on the motion.
Basically, for the same reasons I stated on the previous, that I support this, and I think it is for the public good of the town of Herndon and the surrounding area, as well as business owners in the future.
Thank you. Further discussion? Yes, sir.
I'm sold. I'll stop selling. So, yes.
Further discussion? Okay, thank you. I concur, and I will ask the clerk to please call the roll.
Vice Mayor Olem?
Yes.
Councilmember Delacalar?
Yes.
Councilmember Doug Call?
Yes.
Councilmember Friedrichs?
Yes.
Councilmember McKenna?
Yes.
Mayor Merkel?
Yes, that motion also carries unanimously. Next up, you're kind of getting the drill here. It's ordinance 19028 for 570 Herndon Parkway. Public hearing. Is there anyone that would like to come forward and speak on this parcel? Surely someone. Okay. Seeing none, I will close public hearing, move to council level for discussion and action.
Madam Mayor, I move ordinance 19-0-28.
Okay. Second. Okay, thank you. Discussion on the motion?
None needed.
No? Seeing none, I will ask the clerk to please call the roll.
Vice Mayor Olem?
Yes.
Councilmember Delagar?
Yes.
Councilmember DeCall?
Yes.
Councilmember Friedrichs? Yes. Councilmember McKenna?
Yes.
Mayor Merkel?
Yes, and surprise, surprise, that motion carries as well. And finally, ordinance 19029 for 575 Herndon Parkway. Is there anyone in the audience who would like to come forward on this parcel? Okay, seeing none, I will close the public hearing and move to council level for discussion and action.
Madam Mayor, I move approval of ordinance 19-0-29.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion on the floor by Mr. Dagla and seconded by the vice mayor. Let's see if there's an October surprise here, or I guess a September surprise. Discussion on the motion. Okay, with that, I'll once again ask the clerk to please call the roll.
Vice Mayor Olem?
Yes.
Councilmember Delagar?
Yes.
Councilmember DeCall?
Yes.
Councilmember Friedrichs?
Yes.
Councilmember McKenna?
Yes.
Mayor Merkel?
Yes. That motion also carries. Let's build some bus bays. And thank you for all of your time on this matter. That brings us to I believe, our one general item, which is 19G53, to award a contract for the Herndon Park Trail improvements that I think we're excited about. And John Irish, it's you once again.
Yes, ma'am. So tonight, the award on this project is essentially for trail improvements going through Herndon Park. And there was a question at the work session about just a little bit more description of what was taking place. As you can see here, the basic orientation is Eldon Street is to the left diagonally across the slide. World Gate is the large parking garage structure you see towards the bottom left. Herndon Park in the center, and Herndon Parkway up at the top or end of that yellow terminus. The yellow highlight represents the general path of this trail. It's an 8-foot wide multi-use trail for both bikes and pedestrians. At the bottom center, you'll see that is actually going off our town property, and it will tie into a trail that's existing at World Gate. That trail connects both internally to World Gate and runs parallel along property line out towards Van Buren Street. So that will be a significant improvement for connecting to the trail network to Metro. At one point, the original concept had the trail just simply tying into the Dulles Green Apartments to the left, just to the left-hand side of the tennis courts. That was the concept that was developed and given to us from Fairfax County Transportation Department. We found that the Dulles Glen folks were not enthusiastic about that connection point. That is where their service sort of yard is. They have their dumpster location, and it would be relatively inconvenient. So through some negotiations and discussions, we are going to improve the trail to the dog park and the tennis courts across the stream. We'll be removing that bridge and installing a culvert system there, so we'll reduce the maintenance required for that. And then we're connecting to the Dulles Green Apartments closer up to Herndon Parkway. That leg you see branching off to the left will tie into what they felt would be a better served location. So we are actually extending the length of this trail and tying it into the sidewalk at Herndon Parkway, Dulles Green at a more convenient location, still serving the park's interests at the tennis courts and the dog park. And this is 100% funded with what's called HAM-SAM funding, which is part of the greater Metro improvements that are administered through Fairfax County Department of Transportation. So this is 100% not town money, and we were still able to do what we ended up with here. So low bids are within the budget, and we look forward to authorization to move forward. We're hoping, with any luck with the weather, we get the award tonight and be able to give them notice to proceed and hopefully have this completed before winter weather hits this year.
Okay, thank you. Are there questions for Mr. Irish? Any questions? Okay, thank you very much. So with that, I will entertain a motion. Ms. Friedrichs.
Madam Mayor, I move approval of 19-G-53.
Okay, discussion on the motion. Yes, ma'am.
Just wanted to quickly thank Mr. Irish for providing the visuals, which I think make it a much more compelling statement. Obviously, we're continuing to move further improvements in that section of town, and any improvement we can do in our trails is greatly appreciated. So anyway, thank you.
Thank you. Further discussion? Anyone? All right, thank you. With that, I will call the question on the motion made by, pardon me, Ms. Friedrichs and seconded by the Vice Mayor. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And those opposed? That motion carries. And is there a motion to approve our consent agenda this evening?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And those opposed? And that motion carries. Thank you. We do have a need to go into a closed session this evening. So I will ask for a motion to go into closed session under Section 2.2-3711A3 and A8. Code of Virginia to consult with legal counsel and discuss and consider the acquisition of real property for a public purpose where such discussion or consultation in an open meeting would adversely affect the bargaining position, negotiating strategy, or litigating posture of the council.
So moved.
Second.
Was Mr. McKenna, was that Vice Mayor? Okay, with discussion on the motion? All right, I'll call the question on the motion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And those opposed? The council will take a very brief recess prior to the start of the closed meeting and reconvene in the Hoover Conference Room. Thank you all.